Alright guys, welcome to today's video. Today is Wednesday. I apologize for not doing a video last night. I got a little distracted. As you can tell, I've got my arm pretty well covered. I went to the Walmart today and got some extra large gauze pads and some of the athletic tape that adheres to itself. It's not holding spectacularly right now. I may just need to try it without the gauze pad. But I want a little cushion for sleeping at night because I'm getting tired of trying to sleep on my right arm here. I'm usually a left side sleeper, so. Also, you guys can see it now that I brought my arm up here. This tattoo is also peeling. They're both peeling. This one's peeling more like 40-year-old paint. This one is just peeling like a sunburn. The shininess here is the tattoo goo, which I bought from the tattoo parlor, but you can also find on Amazon. As I said in the previous video and on my social media, this is going to be a jewelry video, so if you don't have the time or the patience to watch the whole thing, feel free to skip through and just, skip along. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, thoughts, if you have any questions about the music that's playing in the background that hopefully you guys can hear me over, feel free to leave in the comments or message me on my social media, which by now, if you don't have the Snapchat and Instagram are the same username as this channel, and if you know me well enough, you probably have other forms of getting in contact with me as well. So what we're going to do today is we're actually going to do something different that I haven't done in a while. We are going to do a strung piece with these glass beads, which are a very turquoise aqua color, and some of them, this one is a very light coloring, but some of these have a very distinct tangible black coloring to them as well, which is sort of like a forest camo in a way, if you think of like tree branches, on these beads, which will lend a nice complement to one of the G-Shock watches that I currently own and am trying to sell. So if anybody's interested in G-Shock watches, also let me know. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with this piece. This is a cross. It is technically an Ankh cross, which is an Egyptian cross, but it's still a neat design. Anybody can wear it, I think. And like I said, we're going to do strung rather than looped because looped does take longer and it will lend more. Doing it looped would give a little bit more pop to the beads, but I think the piece will stand out on its own, looking as like one solid piece. So what we're going to do is we're going to pick our wire here. And I'm looking here. I am probably going to go with the medium. And I'm trying to decide right now between the... Oops, got a bead stuck in the wire there. There's the Soft Touch Soft Flex Medium, which has a diameter of 0.19 inches and a test strength of 26 pounds. And so does the Soft Flex. These are both Soft Flex, but one is Soft Touch and one is not. This one is softer and more flexible, so we're going to give this one a shot first. I think I mentioned it in my first jewelry video that when you're doing wire, you always want to use the jewelry clamp, which is the rubberized clamp that I showed you at one point. I'm going to pull that out in a minute. I have no desired length for this, so I'm just going to pick a random length. This is just going to be something for you guys to look at here. And I'm going to start with these wire cutters because these are the new ones. So hopefully these will work nice and well. Scissors really work too, but just for... Okay. So now I've got a piece of wire. I could probably wrap it around my head almost twice, and I do have a big head, so that's saying something. I won't use all of it. There aren't that many beads. I have actually no idea how many beads there are. I'm not going to count them. But if you're making something that has to be a certain amount of length, you'll want to count your beads. Generally speaking, if you're using 6mm beads, about 4.5 to an inch. So if you get a 16-inch strand of beads, you're looking at somewhere between 60 and 70, depending on how, you know, long they've tied it off before the beads actually start. Okay, so we've got our wire here. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take the rubberized clamp here. We're going to feed the wire through back behind the spring, and you want to get enough where even if the spring starts to slip, it's got a ways to go so you don't lose your beads. And also you don't want to be trying to fumble with a long strand here. So I'm going to push it through pretty far, and then I'm going to let it dangle on the floor here. Actually, I'll put it up on the table. And then I'm just going to start stringing beads. These are all pretty much the same. Some are round, some are not. I'm going to start with the ones that aren't round, because I think there are more of those. You could do this however you like. I'm a very OCD mathematical person, so normally I would count this out, but I'm not going to cinch it, because you guys will get to see what it looks like either way. So, and I'm going to tip the camera down here so you guys can see what I'm doing. I think I talked about this in one of the jewelry videos I did. You just take the wire and easy peasy. Sometimes you gotta whoop, dropped it, whoop. Okay, and see that one fell off there. So you want to take it, you want to hold it just enough to stick it through the hole, and then sometimes you kind of have to play with the bead a little bit to get the wire into the hole, and then there you go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these round beads whenever I grab them out of the bag. See, round, not as round. I'm going to put that over there for a separate pile, and then that way, when I get through, if I decide that I want to use the round ones, I can always take the flatter ones off and put those in as spacers evenly. You're not going to be able to do a lot of these at a time. If you're using the seed beads, you might be able to do more, and if you line them up, it does make it easier. I used to have a bead board. I don't currently have one, but they're pretty easy to find. I believe Joann Fabrics, Michaels, and even Walmart may have them. There are plenty of websites where you can find them. They do help, because then you can just push the wire through. You know, you'd have to hold the beads at the other end. And as you can see, we're just getting a nice, even piece going here. And I'm just gonna go ahead. I'm gonna do the whole thing in this video so that you guys can see a project from start to finish. So if you get bored, just go ahead and skip through. I'm gonna keep talking anyways. And I want to tell you guys where I found these beads. I believe, I honestly don't remember 100%. I want to say I bought these beads from Michaels or Joann Fabrics. When I was living in Royal Oak at the time, when I started doing jewelry, there were several craft stores available. If any of my viewers are in Michigan and or Oakland County, there's a place on Woodward called Sun's Craft and Bead Supply, and it is gone now. I believe it's still a website, but there's a website where there was a store called Beada, which is BEADA.com. I believe the owner's wife, Tony, still operate the site, even though they don't have the storefront anymore. And they were very good, very friendly, very customer-oriented salespeople who took a lot of care in procuring quality products from all over, precious and not stones. So this is kind of an arduous process doing it this way. Doing it the looped way does give you a little more break from monotony. I mean, it's the same thing over and over again, but at least that way you got a little more going on. But like I said, I do believe that this will give more of a pop. Separating the beads is nice, sure, but I also prefer the look and the feel of a strung piece, because then you get one solid sensation rather than, you know, the metal on your skin. All you will feel is the beads. And I'm actually kind of glad this happened. I want to show you guys this. One of these beads here is broken, so I won't be using it. It's just chipped a little, but just enough where I won't use it. If it was broken a little more, I could file it down to look like one of the flat ones, but it's not. And I'm finding a lot more when I reach into the bag. I'm finding a lot more of the round ones, so I may actually have more of those. But I'm going to keep going with the flat ones anyways, until I get enough to put the cross in the middle. It is sort of a big cross, so generally speaking, I would make it a longer necklace. But because the cross is so big, I couldn't use a standard jump ring. I've just attached a simple, very small key ring. I believe it's called an S ring. I can't remember, but it will fit. I will be able to get it on wherever I'd like to put it when I get the beads strung. And what I may do, depending on how long I actually get it with these flattened edge beads, I may use the round beads at the end pieces where the back of the neck would be. Or the one thing I do like about strung is that I could put, for example, if I wanted to put the round beads in the middle, I could just thread them through on one end, thread the other end of the wire through, and just slip them back the other way. That is one of the luxuries of doing it this way. And again, this piece that I'm making now is meant to be aesthetic for me and hopefully for you, but you have to find your own style, or, you know, a customer, if you end up making pieces for sale that fits their desire. And I'm going to show you guys one more time because we're getting pretty well along here. Couldn't tell you how long I'm going to be able to get, but that's about the gist of what you're going to get there. And when that cross sits in the middle, I think it'll look pretty nice. But you can also use you could use any kind of pendant. Any color would go with this, theoretically speaking. I mean, I would stay with black, blue, you know, this blue, or silver, maybe gold if that's your thing. I don't care for gold, but to each their own. I have done pieces this color. I have many different kinds of beads that fit in this color wheel, with different kinds of pendants. It doesn't have to be a cross. This just happens to be, it was in the bag with these beads. So, and frankly, when I run out of these beads, I could easily just slip the cross on, and it could be a piece for around your rear view mirror, or above your bed, or anything you want, really. You know, that's the beauty of the creative process. You can do whatever you want, and if it looks good to you, that's all that matters. So, we're just gonna keep plodding along here, threading and whatnot. Probably about a third of the way, maybe a quarter away through the bag. So maybe an even match between the round ones and the not round ones, which I believe I bought at different times. I haven't bought beads in a long time. The pieces you'll see me making are pieces from the parts in my inventory. If you guys do want something custom and you tell me that, or if you want to see something, you know, in a color that you know, I may not have. All you guys got to do is leave it in the comments, and I will make as close to what you ask for as possible. If I do make something custom, it will be available for sale more than any other piece. Every piece you see me make will be available for sale, but the pieces you see me make custom in accordance with a comment, that will be for sale above all of the rest of the pieces, because it is a custom piece. That doesn't mean it will cost more, it just means that if I go and get parts to make something custom, it is because I'm expecting to sell it. But I will gladly make from my inventory something you guys would like to see. It is within my range right now. I can do necklaces, bracelets, earrings, anklets. As you guys saw in my last jewelry video, I did the piece that turned out to be a keychain, key charm, whatever you want to call it, which is now currently in my car. It is attached to the key that goes to the mailbox here where I live. And it is kind of one of my favorite pieces because it was just, you know, an out of the blue thing that happened. And that's sometimes the way the best pieces happen, is you start something and next thing you know, that's what you end up with. While I'm doing this, let me tell you guys that the music you're hearing in the background is on a playlist I've titled Alternative Meditation, because for me, this music is peaceful, relaxing, and helps me concentrate on what I'm doing, but still allows me the ability to talk. I would say the vast majority of the music you guys are going to hear in these videos is going to come from this playlist, or at least this genre, so to speak. And I would say the vast majority of these songs are going to be songs that you could easily find online, having been in TV shows and movies. This song, to my knowledge, has not been in a TV show or movie, but the artist has. Currently, it is Sarah Cahoon, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, from a, not album per se, but from the Dobe Sessions, which is a musical production that encompasses many bands, many songs, many varieties. This song currently is being played on acoustic guitar by her and whoever her partner is on acoustic guitars in the middle of the woods, which is especially relaxing to me, having been, having been considering for most of my life my summer camp, which had a vast, expansive forest, considering that home. I am into many other types of music. I just find this relaxing and easier to concentrate on because I can just let it play. And see, we're getting there. This is probably going to end up being long enough. Like I said, I may put some of the round ones on the ends. I may end up taking it apart and putting the round ones in the middle to surround the cross, but we'll see how it goes. So far, I'm just trying to work through these flattened beads, disc beads if you want to consider them. They're basically the same as the round beads. They are just, they're not half the size. They are still 6 millimeters around. So if you found them on a strand at a store, they would still say 6 millimeter, just as opposed to being a complete round ball. It is like as if you cut even portions off the side of a round fruit like an apple or orange. And they still, it doesn't actually change anything in terms of the look because they're still rounded like the orb shaped. They are just shorter in terms of being stacked up, so it makes it possible to put more of them on, and if you had a variety of beads the same size and shape, you could have a variety going. I wouldn't do that with this piece. I think the only other colors I might throw in would be black or silver, but being that these beads do have black on them, I probably wouldn't even bother with that. I have done black and blue pieces in several varieties, shapes, lengths, and what have you. I personally like the color combination in any form, really. So I think probably red and orange are my two other favorite colors to do for jewelry, because if you do them right, with or without a pendant piece, they will really, really pop. When I first started doing jewelry, I was doing jewelry for myself, and I was my own model. I was still trying to sell pieces, but in the meantime, I was making them as pieces that I could see myself wearing, so that if somebody were interested, they would see the result of my handiwork. Most of my clients have been women or men for women, or men or women for children, and I've made several pieces in the past for family, including my mother and my nieces, who may or may not be watching this video. Hopefully so. One of them who is a very accomplished, very well-talented photographer, might I add. Whoop. And maybe one day my videographer, who knows? Maybe if this channel takes off, I might get to hire a staff, who knows? So, I'm pretty much all the way through the beads, and I'm looking at this, and I'm thinking to myself, it's looking pretty good. And you know, I don't think I'm gonna need to add many of the round ones. I'll probably have to add some, but not many, just long enough to make it long enough to account for the size of the cross. When you're making a piece, it is my opinion, at least, that if you are going to include a pendant, whether strung or looped, if you are using beads, you should use beads that are proportionate to the size of the cross, or the pendant, I should say, and that the length is also proportionate. Like if you were going to do a pendant the size of a silver dollar, you wouldn't want to have the length be a choker. I mean, you could do that if that's your thing, but aesthetically, it wouldn't be ideal. But again, that's my opinion. Art is a subjective, there is no right answer. It is entirely up to the individual who is actually going to wear the piece. The other thing you guys will want to really consider when making a piece is not only who is the recipient or who will be wearing the piece, but what will they be doing when they're wearing it? Is it something meant to only be worn to a fancy dinner or a formal event? Is it something you don't want them to ever take off? Because those two scenarios alone require different amounts of preparation. If you want it to be a art piece, a piece that stands out for a formal event, you'll want to make sure the materials you're using are as high a quality as you can. You should always strive for high quality, but for example, if you are going to make, say, a choker or a longer necklace piece for men or women or children who are going to be working hard labor or swimming or some sort of strenuous activity, you'll want to use pieces that are glass or plastic or resin or rubber, something synthetic, really. if you use things like sterling silver, gold, or gold plated, you're gonna find that they tarnish pretty quickly with sweat, moisture, etc. All of the pieces I've ever made for myself, I've made specifically under the idea that it's gonna get beat up. Because I make pieces that I don't intend to take off, or when I made pieces for myself that would be meant to go with a specific outfit, I still wanted it to be durable regardless. And again, you should always strive for durability. You don't want a piece to break because then you have to fix it or replace it. But it's just something you want to consider, take extra consideration of when you're making it for someone else. So I'm just about done here, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be long enough where I won't need any of the round beads. I may do some just for the effect at the end. People won't see it if someone needs to wear it because it'll be around the back, but you'll know it's there, and it'll actually help in terms of the way it feels on your neck. So let's dump the rest of these out of the bag into my hand here. We'll take out any of those completely round ones. Alright, we're on the last 7 beads here, and then I'll show it to you guys. Almost dropped the wire, but that's why it's clamped at one end. I know I've said this before, and I know you guys saw it in the last video that I made a piece in, but when working with wire, you'll want to keep in mind also the weight of your piece, because if it's heavy like these beads are, you'll want to make sure that your crimp tube is strong enough to handle that, and you may want to double your wire through it. I've been known to double up wire so that there's an actual loop at one end, which I still crimp, and then I just use that as a loop for whatever I'm going to use as a clasp. You could also just take an extra piece. You could cut a piece off. If you have excess at the end, cut it off, and then use that to put through the crimp tube, so there's a little more in there holding it tight. So this is what we've got here. That's about how long it is, and I'm fairly certain that would be long enough. I am going to put a few of the round beads on because I do want to get it a little bit longer here. I want to be able to see. I want to make it so that it would at least go around my head when it's fully clamped. And clamping will add a little bit of length to it, but here we go. Let's put on a few. Do 3 on each side. How about that? So 1, 2, 2, 3. Ooh, come on. Nope. And sometimes they flip off. So there's 1, there's 2, there's 3. Let me tip this camera down again so you guys can see what's going on here. See, now we had the more flat edge beads, and then we've got the 3 here. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to very carefully flip this around here, and because I don't know where the other one is, I'm going to go ahead and take the clamp off this side. I'm going to feed this through. We're going to go ahead, and it doesn't really matter where it is as long as the beads get up to it. Go ahead and clamp that. Push them down, into the wire, 3 beads, 1, whoop, or not, let's try this again. Sometimes they're a little tricky, you can make it a game like Pac-Man. 2, oh, did I get it, oh, bingo bango. Okay, so now I'm going to find the crimp tubes. What you guys will find is eventually, when you're making jewelry, you'll have 900 containers of things, and you'll never know where something is, but you'll find it. these are the crimp tubes right here. I'm going to take one out and try and show it to you. They're really small, so I may have to use a pair of pliers here or a piece of wire. Since this piece is long enough to go around my head, though, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and make it a single strand piece without a clasp. It lends a bit of durability to it, in my opinion. So we're going to take the clamp off of here, and then we're going to grab this crimp tube here, feed the wire through it. Okay. Now, I don't know if you guys can see it there. That little bit of silver there is the crimp tube. So then what we're going to do is I'm going to try and find this, I'm going to make this even on both sides so that the ends are at the same point, and it will make it easier for what I'm going to show you guys here. You'll want to be careful not to drop this, because then you will really be upset with yourself when you drop all the beads. Okay, so we got that about even. Push the beads so they're about even. Come on. There we go. So it's nice and tight now, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to take the end of the wire that doesn't have the crimp tube, and you know what? Just for extra amount of safety, let's go ahead and put a crimp tube on this side. Now it's completely even. And if you really wanted, you could use, this will end up being a flat space, dead space between the sections of beads. You could easily make this the place where you hang a pendant if you had the right kind of bail. So what you do is you feed it through, and eventually it will pop out from one of the beads. And if it doesn't, you just separate the beads and you find it and you pull it tight. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep feeding this through as far as I can, and then I'm going to start and I'm going to do the same thing on this side. And then when I pull the ends out, it's going to get nice and tight. And you'll want to be careful if you are going to do it this way. You want to make sure you've got an even number of beads so that when you put the pendant in the middle, you have a place for it to go where it will hang properly. Now, I don't know if you guys can see down here, the end, the loose end, has popped out of this side, and I'm going to have to use a clamp to pick it up, which is actually good because I'm going to need to have a tight grip on it. Come on. Oh, okay, it's going to be a little stickler today, right? So now we've got this side, now we just need to find the other side. So what you do is you just push the beads back until you find it, and eventually it'll pop out here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and pull this as tight as we can get it. Right? Oh, I should probably move the camera up. Sorry about that, guys. Okay. So now we've got this. It's nice and tight. Probably move that up a little more for you guys. One of these days I get a camera, I promise. Okay. And this is not what it'll look like. It won't look like this flat side here. This is just showing, you know. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the, almost stuttered there. I'm going to put the clamp on one side. Ideally you'll want to have two for this, but at least if I can get the clamp on one side, then it'll still be relatively tight because it will hold the beads in places, which is what you really want when you're going to clamp. And I can easily just hold this as well. I know I showed you guys these before. These are the crimping pliers, and I don't know if you guys can tell, but they have two little cutouts. And I know one is specifically for one way of crimping and one is for the other. I just kind of wing it. So there's one crimp tube, and I'm still going to hold this end tight so that the beads can't slip. That's one crimp tube. Oh, or I got both of them. That's cool. And then you turn it, and then you're going to want to crimp it the other way. Ideally, you'll learn how to get your crimps nice and round, and sometimes I can, sometimes they're a little tricky. And then you just want to test it, right? No slippage. That's what you're going for. So now you can take the clamp off, and you want to get in as close as possible, and that's why I like these wire cutters, because they're long and narrow. So you get right in between the beads. Boom. And then when you have a piece sticking out like that, you always can stretch it just a little bit. And then you just make sure it goes right back through the hole. And we're going to do the same on this side. As close in as we can there. Alright, now, this may be a little small for my big head, but let's see what happens. Yeah, obviously it would fit if it weren't for the beard. And we gotta try to do the reverse process now, huh? Okay. Now it's still a little short in my opinion. I'm gonna put the cross on here so you guys can see how it looks. And it will be available for sale. Just inquire me regarding pricing. So to find where we're gonna put the pendant, obviously you're gonna wanna put it in the middle. So what I do is I'm gonna lay it out flat here. And I'm just gonna pinch it. So all the beads are relatively together. And then as you can see here, this one actually has a bead where the middle piece would be. If I were making this specifically for a customer, I would avoid that. But as I'm just making it so you guys can see the process, it's not that big a deal. And frankly, if you look at the end here, it's tipped a little. So frankly, you could put it between either of these beads. And there are some bales that would actually fit over that bead. I just don't currently own one. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take this, I'm going to split it as best I can, and I'm going to attempt to get this on the piece. It's being a little difficult, so what we're going to do is we are going to grab a set of flat pliers, and we're going to go ahead and pull this back a little bit. All you got to do is get in there some to hold it open. And they do have splitters for these. I've never bought one because I don't generally use these. This was just what was in the bag with the beads. I don't have any jump rigs big enough for that. I'm all thumbs today, apparently. Where'd you go, you silly bugger? Alright. Gonna stay this time. Yes. No. Alright. And it will usually go smoother than this. Sometimes my dexterity is just a little off. So what you want to do is you want to slip it around like you were going to put it on the pliers as if they were another key ring. And now you got a little bit of separation. Again, you find your midpoint here. Let's just call it there. And then if you can, just get it around the wire. And you're just going to go whoop, whoop, bam. Okay, all done. I'm not gonna put this thing on again because that was traumatic enough with the beard. But see, and you got a nice strong, durable, and this is waterproof because this is all stone and glass. This will not rust, this will not fade, these will not break. Okay, the wire may break, the crimp may fail. That's always a risk. But as it stands right now, a nice, beautiful turquoise and black. Go with black, white, gray, any outfit you choose. Like I said, if you guys are interested in this piece, let me know in the comments or on social media, and I would be glad to work with you on that. If you guys want a more detailed how-to, go ahead and comment that as well. So that's today's video. Come back for tomorrow's video. Thanks for watching.